All right, Rahubot Collective. I'm going to be answering a few questions about this egregore, as well as I have a few notes. Well, a few notes, meaning a gigantic ass paragraph, to read off of. So for more meditation stuff that I've done. So first off, I did get this question. It wasn't like, it's not like a direct question, but it does deserve an answer. Instead of just replying to a comment, I'm just going to address it in the video because why not? But with how egregores are, where people, you might be thinking that, oh, since it's like egregore, it comes from people's thought form. So does that mean it's us on the collective level, as an individual person? I mean, I should say, right? Yes, it's this, it's the individual, right? But the egregore itself, as we live in a realm of having two instead of one, isn't just an interpersonal, it's an external personal as well. It's something that's an exchange, an equal give and take, where one party needs to quit giving for the other half to stop sufficing, right? So even though this egregore on one form is being fueled and being empowered and created by the individual's thought form, it is also being channeled through and spewed out through an external point as well. That external point being that invisible, the archons, the higher powers within play. This can be seen by like external forces of fear, governments, powers, movies, media, things of that nature that you then take in, that even though they come from you, the individual, that has manifested that reaction, that has manifested that external, you know, external action, for lack of better terms, to be there. It is also now, since it's become external, it's now something that's an external problem as well. It's something that needs to be stopped in the form of spirit rather than in the form of the flesh of the individual. Um, of course, when okay, so when thinking about this, because of course I've been talking to my guides about this, there's two ways that this needs to be taken down for this egregore. And the first one is focusing on the full aspect of what this egregore is, learning about it in its totality, so that we can, bit by bit, break it apart, do the ceremonies and whatever, yada yada, right? But after that, it then becomes an individual thing where the people inside of themselves are working on it, right? Which is kind of what I've been doing on this channel recently, with the whole focus of the inner self, the focus on the changing of the readings, where we've been talking about how the interpersonal parts of things, healing that internal self, doing that work, moving forward that way, right? That's getting those leading steps there. That's putting down a new foundation to walk on top of rather than what this egregore has been doing, right? It's more of making it more aware, making it more apparent. So the best way, really, right now, and really the best ritual to do is just to speak about this egregore. I noticed that people in the comments were saying, "Yeah, I've been picking up on this too." Even someone picking up on it years ago and been trying to stop it. The only way that we really can combat it is by, first of all, awareness, because you can't really punch something in the dark. You can't really fight something if you can't see it, which is the whole point of being spiritual. Once you have that spiritual sense there, do your best to get it out. Of course, this is going to be difficult with, the internet as itself being the egregore, the internet. You're entering the net, the internet, the inside of the net, right? All these things being inside of that matrix is going to be hard to speak about these things with everyone else being so tangled up in everything else that this egregore is kind of split apart. Not only that, but this egregore just isn't a part of the spiritual community. It's a greater part of like the religious faculties, of the governments, of the medias, et cetera, et cetera. It's not just one thing that we're messing with. It's a grand thing that we're gonna have to take bit by bit. The focus, though, the main focus I'm going to be doing is focusing on it in the spiritual communities, whether they're online or in external natures, because of this mindset that the 3D reality has created for people to live in, of overworking for little reward and all these things that drain that sacral and solar plexus energy, and fuel the root chakra with fear and all this stuff. Instead of ignoring that, that's what we're going to be focusing on, so we can take it down from that part. Doing the chakra work isn't just going, is not the only thing that we're going to be doing. Of course, it's going to be a lot more than that. Um, But regardless, it's really about getting these binds, these almost tentacles, I want to say, these trines or whatever, away from the individual, just working on that aspect of it. Um, because egregores, in the sense, they don't just come at someone in the sense of that emotional area, because again, it's a spiritual thing. So when that happens, you are then possessed by something, possessed by fear, by glamour, by something of those natures, right? That then allows you to continuously soak in whatever it's extruding out, right? So you're going, so to really combat that, you're going to need to work through those cycles, see what spirit is overtaking you that is allowing this egregore to grow more and more, right? It's the whole black magic scare. It's the whole misinterpretation of tarot, of energy healing. It's the clickbaitiness. It's trying to sell you something instead of actually informing you like it needs to. And it meaning the part of the collective, the part of the collective, for lack of a better term, who, like the healers, the readers, the gurus, the whatever's, all of them. Really about focusing on that. Second off, this egregore is going to be very easy, but yet also very difficult to overcome. Easy because it's you, difficult because it's not only you. So the easy part is just fixing you, cutting out things that are no longer resonant for you, cutting out things that are bringing back a lower vibration that aren't helping you within that personal development, you know, going down that path. That's going to be the easy part, because that's where you come in control. And this is where you take back your power. It's where the egregore then loses its control over an individual and then has to look outside of itself, well, outside of you, which would be yourself, because it would be attached to you, right? It'd be looking outside of you to find other things to attach to. And I talk about that a lot in the paragraph stuff that I have written, as well as like the chakra connections and how that how it all affects that as well. But with this egregore, focusing on the internal part is how we're going to fix it. Because if you've noticed, I mean, obviously a lot of people have noticed, every reading, I've talked about it a million times too, every reading, every message, not every, but the majority of like the healings, the gurus and stuff, we'll talk about the external. We'll talk about, oh, this is happening, that's happening, why is this happening, why is that happening, instead of seeing the internal effects first. If you're going to work on something, you need to know the instructions before it can be made on the external, right? You need to read the insides. So flipping that script, not being taught backwards, not being taught that externally people are doing things to you, and then learning how to fix it on the inside, is a grand thing. It's going to be more difficult to teach those who are stuck within that cycle of externalizing rather than internalizing, but it's still something that we can do. Obviously, some of us here have already been doing that and walking down that path. It's a possible thing. It's just a little bit harder. If we can help these newer people who are jumping into this realm, and not even jumping into the spiritual side of things, but really just awakening to their higher senses and seeing the truth rather than seeing the illusion, or seeing partial truth, or however it is for that individual, right? It'll make it easier for them to move forward, so they're not still blinded and cut off by this 3D matrix, which this egregore really funds from, because it's not only funding things from the spiritual, but it's also gravitating and pulling you down towards that 3D aspect of focus on this, focus on that, on the external rather than focusing on the internal. Um, but right now, I'm going to read through the little thing that I have, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about other things with it. Um, but the egregore's main focus is to shut off the third eye, which is keeping you disconnected from true light and right knowledge. While doing this, it also prevents the remembrance of dreams, intuitive insight, and your spiritual compass. So you're going to be very lost. That's why a lot of people feel lost and they're not able to remember dreams, because the third eye is being shut off by this illusion. You're not getting the messages from the dreams because you are stuck in this energy of, oh, if I'm having a dream about this, they have to be attacking me. They have to be doing this, they have to be doing that, right? All these things are keeping you stuck in those past cycles. That doesn't mean it's not always going to be that, but at the main part of it, you miss what's truly being shown to you, because you wouldn't be having dreams. You wouldn't allow anything in your energy unless it was to benefit you. Only things that can come to you are to benefit you. You can believe the other way if you wish, but just know deep down inside that you're calling it to yourself for a specific reason. If you don't like it, it's because it's trying to show you something about yourself that you don't even quite understand just yet. When it hijacks the third eye to create an illusion around the individual, making them think, then believe they are under constant attack by others. It then acts as an agent smith to those who are unaware, unawakened, or those who lack the spiritual insight to keep that targeted individual isolated using a form of fear tactics. This then begins to not only leech at their heart chakra by creating an aura of fear of connectivity around them, it then attaches to the root chakra and creates a foundation of fear to rest on. So this is the whole projecting, oh, I keep picking up on people's energy and they're always sending me bad energy. That's not the case. It's because it's reminding you, it's showing you a part of you that maybe you used to be in the past, maybe you still are now, maybe you're still dealing with it or trying to get down to the bottom of it, but it's just showing you a part of you that you've yet to fully heal from. This doesn't mean it's good or bad. This doesn't mean you have to be around it. But instead of saying it has that power that's attacking you, which is what this egregore is trying to feed off of people by saying if it's attacking you, then it's going to have a hand and advantage over you. Because why would it be attacking you rather than just showing something to you? An attack means that there's violence behind it. An attack means that there's a force behind it that is moving towards you in a sense of oppression, and that leads you down that path. A lot of people don't understand that, but this is the power of words that we're talking about. This is why fear. This is why so many fear-like titles are used, and why a lot of people who are in the Reiki business or however they go, like, you're under attack, or readings go like, you're under attack, or do this now, or XYZ, or you've been hexed, you need to do this, and all those stupid like videos like that. They're all part of this egregore. Knowingly or unknowingly does not matter. It's because it's already out there. It's their actions that they've already produced with that to create fear to attract it. Why would you need to use fear to attract someone of a high spiritual ranking? You wouldn't do that. In fact, that's what you do to attract those who are blind and unaware. Maybe they have a higher spiritual ranking, who knows, but they're unaware, so they're being drained off of that fear by then feeling like they are doing well because of it, but it's not. Though it's not a complete lie that people are under attack, it's then stretched and warped and perverted to keep the energy of divide and conquer within this realm, which is why we scapegoat and all these things. Without that divide and conquer, we wouldn't have a need for scapegoating, right? This then sends the target down the path of fate rather than destiny, making them walk a path they know isn't right for them, while also keeping them blind on how to switch paths and visions. This entity also acts as an agitator spirit, to make people act out of character to gain more power, making people see a form of external attack rather than seeing true internal state of their true being. This cycle repeats until a person is completely blind to the true effect of what's going on, creating entertainment of the situation to lure more people into cycles. Um, Now, what I mean by making entertainment out of it, watching readings, and this happens a lot because I see it all the time within comments of stuff with people talking about, oh, so and so is doing this to you and all this stuff. People will end up laughing and being like, haha, that's what they get, that's what they deserve. They end up making a mockery out of it. They end up making this humor out of it. Though some people will say it's making light out of it, why would you laugh at another individual's demise? That's not what a high vibrational being would do. In fact, that's a super low vibrational thing to do, is to laugh at someone's demise. You wouldn't need to laugh at them like that. That's a demon inside of you. Agree with it, disagree with it, I don't care. I'm an exorcist. I know what I'm talking about when it comes down to these things. It's the truth of it, and you have to look at it with your spiritual senses rather than your egoic rational mind, because that's what's keeping people blind in this. The cycle then manifests against the host and will create timelines, or a timeline that stays in a continuous loop of the same feeling, reactions, and stories and starting points. This egregore then leeches on the other people in higher position, healers, readers, gurus, etc., to spread this narrative of always being under attack. The goal is to make people feel as they're under something rather than over it. The fact that you would say you're under attack is saying that you are being pressurized by it. It's the same thing as being depressed. You're being pressurized internally. Why would you be under anything? You don't need to be under anything. You don't live under earth. You live on the earth. You don't really live under the sun. You live pretty adjacent to it, because you're not under it. It's an illusion that you live under it, because we're put down in this realm where we see depth, which is the illusion of things. We're in a 2D world experiencing a 3D simulation. We can't see through this because it's a 2D thing, but I can rotate it and gyrate it and move it around to show that it's a 3D object. It's the same thing as a hand, as my head, whatever. It's 2D until you start using the depth that we have around us, that space element, right? This is why you see Reiki videos saying you have bad energy around you. If you've been hexed, let me remove it. With the initial hit that happens at the heart chakra, it shuts down the third eye and enables even more fear in the root chakra. This is then causes self-doubt and begins to leach onto the solar plexus chakra. This is why many people are in the position of saying, I've been doing the work, but nothing's changing. This lack of knowing self keeps keeps your power at a low, and this affects the throat chakra and sacral chakra almost at the same time, as the lack of authenticity from the throat chakra gives off a lack of self nurturing, which then goes to the heart, shutting down the third eye even more, causing more fear into the root, keeping the crown chakra from attaining the necessary fueling to be active, effectively making the so called awakened ones, or the chosen ones, the general collective, a puppet for this entity in a purgatory type loop. And with that being said, when people are like, I've been doing the work, but I'm still under attack, that's the thing. That's the spell that you're trying to break. If you know you're doing the prayers, if you know you're putting those things out there, it's not working because you have shut down chakras. It's not because it's not working. It's because you don't believe in yourself. That sacral chakra, that throat chakra isn't aligned. They're broken, and you're unable to see that clearly because of this heart chakra issue. From the third eye chakra being shut down, you can't see the true emotion, which roots you in fear and keeps that crown chakra from being awakened, because now they're all feeding off of this feedback loop of, I don't know what I'm doing, I can't do it right, no one likes me, I'm always under attack, I don't know what I did. That victimized state that then shuts down the heart and the the sacral, and then that gets to the solar plexus, and that gets into the throat. No matter which way you look at it, these chakras are all being hit at the same time at different times. That first initial gasp, that shock element, happens within that chest area. That's where your heart chakra is. That's why you see titles like, oh, I'm under attack. That grabs your heart chakra. That pulls you in from that place. Until you have a fully clear third eye, you will understand that you're not under attack. You're not under anything. You are on equal playing grounds with everything. Everything revolves around you. So if you're under it, what does that imply? That you've given up your control, that you have no control within the situation. This is a mindset thing, which is why people really need to work on the third eye chakra. Whenever they say that they do, they don't. Whenever people say they have their third eye open, they most likely don't. In fact, you don't want to open your third eye chakra. It's a pine cone. What does an open pine cone represent? What does a closed pine cone represent? What happens when you pour water on a pine cone and it's nurtured? All these things. Look at it. Pineal means pine cone. All right. This is why in every art, going from the Aztecs all the way back to Anu, where he's holding it to the fucking Pope, all those acorns are closed for a reason. It's not because they need to be open, but it's because that's the proper way of nurturing it, right? Understand that. Really, really look into these things, because it's trying to show you this truth. People are trying to open their third eye instead of activating it. They need to nurture it to fuel it. They don't need to bust it open. Busting it open then allows things to go into it. That's this whole thing with the Matrix. People are opening up vortexes, opening up portals within their own body for these entities to get attached to and move around in. Okay? Breaking this spell takes more than just chakra work. It takes a complete change. Too many have been on a pedestal, and those in high positions are the ones most easily captured by this entity or egregore, as they have many viewers in that same energy of the egregore, making it something they have to pick up, right, as they read or as they do the Reiki, or however, as they believe it's helping those who are asking to be freed. They're not necessarily helping them, though. It would be more help to show them what's truly going on, to speak about it in a higher way, rather than just pointing out that it's other people's fault. What does that do? Absolutely nothing. That's divide and conquer. That's been around since the Romans. So this is a spell that goes all the way back. This goes back all the way almost to the Egyptian times, if you really want to talk about it. But it even goes back further than that, truly. But it's almost as if this egregore wants to create a stronger trauma bond within the online spiritual community, or spiritual community in general, to create its own web within those spaces for easier leeching. Again, this is why every reader gives the same reading. The only difference is the zodiacs, which is why I said in the last video that this egregore is created by archons, as archons control the zodiacs and planets, as well as the laws that govern those planets. This then generates the difference between the signs, but it also keeps similar messages. Since tarot has become more and more mainstream, it has allowed this entity to attach easier and easier. Many readers don't even know how to read the cards. Many people don't even know what tarot truly is, and this creates that dissonance between what's truly going on in the individual and what the individual, is able to pick up on. Again, so many people get into readings because of a reader who's picking up on that energy. What is that doing? That's creating the same vortex, the same wormhole that we're trying to escape and help people leave. But instead of actually doing that, we're all repeating the same cycle, which needs to be broken. It does not matter how many subscribers that individual has, or how much support or whatever that person has, how much credibility they may have. All these things need to be examined a lot more carefully. You may ask, why does this even exist? How has it not been stopped yet? Even when we pray, and it's because praying is not going to solve this. You need to test the spirits. People don't test spirits. That's the first thing. You don't know what you're picking up on until you test it. It does not matter who you are. You must test the spirit, because guess what? Once that spirit enters you, it can read your entire body. It can read your feelings. How does this person feel to you? How does that person feel to you? Bam. Now you're feeling that thing from a trickster spirit, and it's not even the right thing that you're feeling. It's something else. But people are so stuck in their ego ways, in their rational mind, because they're not fully awakened. They're not in that fully spiritual energy. They just believe that, oh, I've done all these things before. No, you haven't, because it's a new day. It's a new energy. Cells that you had back then are dead. Cells that you have now are different. You're in a different mood, a different energy, a different state of being. You are not the same as when it first happened. So you need to test the spirit at all times. This is why many spiritualists don't test them, which is the whole conundrum that we're in, where people are spiritual, but they don't test any spirit around them. They just believe that they know these things, which is ignorance at its best, and arrogance as well, which is why a lot of people are still lost and confused, and they don't know what's going on, because they're not even doing any of the work. They're just trying to take a shortcut, which is basic westernized things, which again, this is most likely an egregore created by westernization of these true teachings that have been shortcutted and disparsed and spliced and retranslated for purposes of confusion and illusion. But anyway, these spiritualists just allow spirits to enter their vessels and say what they say. These spirits can range from trickster spirits to different expressions of this egregore. The fault falls on the one who is responsible for giving that message or doing that action, as they are rewarded by one force, but yet seemingly punished by another for doing as what that spirit of the individual requires. Um, if both sides, hold on, excuse me, let me read that. The fault falls on the one who is responsible for giving the message. They are rewarded by one's force, yet seemingly punished by another for doing so. As the split of that individual requires both sides to be satisfied at different rates, instead of being whole and receiving equal parts of of both of them, neutralizing it and allowing the individual to move as they truly wish. Right. This is why you see people go, I shouldn't be picking up on this energy. I don't like picking up on this energy, but I'll do it anyway. It's coming in for a specific reason. And it's not because you're under attack. It's not because these readers are tapping into something that is fully true. It is because they're telling us half truth that they're not even fully sure about. And it doesn't just stop at readers, it goes with the entirety of the spiritual collective, where people are talking about one thing and then saying, well, I don't mess with that stuff. Well, you do, because it's coming towards you. If you didn't, it wouldn't be happening towards you. When you fully make that switch, when you fully decide to step into that power of yourself and not allow that sort of energy, that sort of entity to come towards you, it won't, because you set that boundary in place. This shows you how weak many of the spiritual leaders are. No matter how knowledgeable they are, they still fall pretty short in the game of actual spiritualists. It doesn't matter how many times they astral travel, they still allow that energy to come in and manipulate themselves, manipulate what they're trying to say. And it's unfortunate. So we really need to start testing those spirits. People aren't going to like it. People are going to be very dismayed by it, but that's on them for not doing it first. If you're going to allow yourself to be possessed by a certain entity or a spirit, then you better be ready for that spirit to be questioned, and you have to answer those questions. That's just the simple point of it. Regardless, though, this egregore, it runs off of that fuel. It runs off of the broken chakra system. It runs off the victimization of people. It runs off of the immaturity of the soul. It runs off of the lack of knowledge, the lack of wisdom, of education that one needs to fully be within full regimen of their power. So pay very close attention to these messages that come out from other people, from anyone. It doesn't matter if it's from me or however, paying attention to those messages is what you truly need to do. Don't pay attention to, oh, I like this person or not. Don't, that's your rational mind attaching itself to the 3D, giving you a reason to enjoy the flesh rather than seeing the spirit at hand. Don't fall for that trap. See what's truly happening. Okay? At the end of the day, this egregore is going to take a while to remove, but it needs to be started. Some people might have just thought about just doing spells or trying to trap it. That's not going to be as easy as you think, because again, this thing is not just a one thing within the spiritual community. It has latched itself on and created an amalgamation of multiple forms of itself throughout different outlets like TV, media, the news, all the way to the internet, with just like normal things and then the spiritual things online, like with YouTube or Instagram or however. You have those egregores of that programming that's now mixed in with this main one. This is a whole big operation that's going to take a lot more than you would truly want to believe or think. Because if we're only going to be focusing on the spiritual aspect of it, which is what we're going to be focused on for a while, until that aspect is fully decoded in that sense, where an individual will be able to walk a path and keep astray from it, we won't even be able to start on the physical. And that's where people are going awry, where they're trying to stop this thing on the physical. Yeah, you can stop watching the things and all that stuff. That's good. That's a good first step. But you need to be doing things in the spiritual. Um, Definitely, though, I will. At some point, we'll be doing meditations on these things. I'll be uploading meditations. I'm just going to be, putting out content to be able to try and remove these egregores, these certain seals that are still on people that are allowing them to resonate, um, with the downfall of certain things, and really stepping into a true nature of self. Now, this is, again, I have to preface this because a lot of people are going to take this message in a very egoic, rational minded way of saying, oh, so you're saying none of this exists. No one's saying that. Um, what's really going on is there is magic being done. There is a spell that people are under. There is an entity going around doing shit to people, of course, but it's not the flesh. It's not your ex. It's not your family. It is this egregore that has been going around causing different emotions, different types of feelings, because in this realm, as many people like to say, is activating the heart chakra. We're supposed to be moving towards the 5D, the heart chakra energy. Well, what's the biggest way to shut that down? By your feelings, because your heart chakra generates those feelings. That heart chakra stays pure, but guess what? If those feelings are out of whack, your third eye is not going to work. You're not going to be able to deceive. You're going to be deceived. Excuse me. You're not going to be able to see through that illusion. And this is what we need to work on. This is those chakras that we're needing to focus on. Those who have already made it past this point will know. Those that haven't, just keep walking down that path. Regardless, um, this is going to be a very interesting project that we're working on over here, with this, and just documenting everything so far on it. There's a lot to break down. I haven't even read all the notes that I have on this so far, but it definitely seems to be this. I mean, with how far I've gotten down with it, with how much meditation I've done on it, with how far this rabbit hole's got for me, it's definitely something to do with the invasion of Lower Egypt. Around that time, around that same time, is when this egregore is fully being funneled and changed. Um, but I need to delve deeper into it. It definitely has an Egyptian tie, but it goes back even further in, like, to the celestials within the whole galaxy of things, right? It goes back further. Am I going to say it's a specific species that's running this egregore? No, it definitely could be, but I haven't delved down that deep yet, and I'd rather wait till that stuff comes to me before I even speak on it. But another question that I did get, or another thing I would like to answer, um, not really a question, but a thing is something I would like to answer. With someone mentioned, to say to run the ritual to get energy to be supplied in. Though that would be good, we would need to funnel it in a certain way. And someone even mentioned, like, we should make our own egregore. Well, that's the thing. That's what I've been doing here for the past while. That's why I've been very connective. Now, it's interesting because if we were to do this would need to be something a little bit grander than an egregore. We wouldn't just need an egregore to go against this, because again, if this is how I'm believing it to be, from how things are just adding up, this isn't just an egregore, it's a servitor that is being controlled by different archons, that has different archons within it, ruling different types of segments. You can think of it as like a ship with people running different parts of the ship. You have the driver, you have the person checking the engines, you have all these other people everywhere else, right? That's how this is working with these archons. There's certain points that we have to hit. Those points represented by the planetary system, in that planetary system relating to the chakras and the laws that are governed by everything else, XYZ, going, from the internal to the external on the physical. There's a lot to go through with this, but we wouldn't need just an egregore. We would need to create a form of a servitor, which would be very unstable to do in a sort of public form. um, it would need a group of solidified magicians to be able to fully pull that off, simply because we would not want any form of unstable energy, and we would need to very much, make sure of it. We need to program it, code it, to be exactly as we need it to be, without going off topic, of what it's supposed to do. As well as we would all need to have um, protection of sorts. There's so much that would go into it. Of course, if anyone is interested in helping with that aspect of it, email me. Don't comment about it, because I'm not going to respond to comments again. I'm going to, I'll respond to it in video format. I'm not going to respond to it in you know what I mean. So if you are interested in helping with that, definitely email me and we can put something together. Because if we're truly going to do this, and because it can and will happen, that's something that I'm putting my foot down on. This will be a thing that will be stopped at some point. It just needs to be started. It's something that just can't be done by one individual, but it's something that needs to be publicized and then put down into a smaller group. Of course, we would, it's a walk of many lives for this, so we really need to watch out and be careful for it as well. But again, if anyone would be willing to help with that, definitely let me know. I know some of the steps to even take for it. That we would have to very carefully do some things and really sculpt things out and tweak it and fine tune it and everything. But regardless, this egregore does not need to remain as it's some. And even then, I was talking to my guides about it, and the thing is, it's not going to be away completely. It's not something we're going to just kill off immediately. It's something that's going to exist, but it's going to be on a less grand scale. It's going to be something that's been minimized. And by that I mean, even though if we do take it out of the mainstream spiritual, right? And we'll say it that way. We'll take it out of the mainstream of spiritualism. We'll remove it from those who are already in the group, that have already, walked the walk and things, and it's going to be easier for them to move on. What about those newcomers that may straggle along and get sucked down that path? Well, that's why we can't fully get rid of it. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It always is going to be there and exist, right? From the dawn of time. It is just until someone activated it, put more energy into it, that it became bigger and bigger, which is what we're trying to do, is minimize it back down to a size to where it's no longer a grand issue, not an issue where everyone believes that they are something that they aren't. And instead of focusing on the self and truly knowing who they are, letting someone else say that all these things are around them. Seeing videos of, oh, you're part of a strong lineage of the ancestry. If you were, you would know. You wouldn't have to be told by an online collective reading. That's not how that would work. Though it's entertaining, which is another way the egregore attaches itself to people by making things entertaining, it then is a double-edged sword, because now you know that, oh, you're protected by God, you're part of the 144,000, you have these grand ancestors that are super powerful, but now you're still under attack. And that makes sense why you're under attack, because of all those things, but now you feel weak because you're unable to do things and you don't think you're doing them right. So what does that do? That lowers down your energy. Now your sacral chakra is open, your root chakra is open now for fear, because you have self-doubt. Everything starts falling apart, your foundation's weak, and then things start to slip in and out, right? That's what we're trying to work on, is that strengthening of that. Now, of course, there's multiple ways you can go about this. We could do a whole glamour thing upon the egregore to make it less effective. In those sense, there's a lot that we could do to dink this down, of course. This is not something that I've just randomly thought about. This is something I've been thinking about for a while. In fact, the video that I mentioned this in is called, I don't even know what the title of this, something big is about to happen on the channel, and it was uploaded 9 months ago. And that's when I first started talking about this. Almost an entire year ago, I've noticed this happening, right? And I've been even mentioning stuff like this for almost a full year. It hasn't been until recently where things have started going into plan. I haven't been fully aware of what I was being led down and being put through a bunch of these obstacles. It now it made a lot of sense for why this was happening. I became very aware very quickly, which then sprung a lot of reactions out of people that I then had to remove out of myself, because these were just cycles of myself from this egregore that I've accepted in from the past and how people are going to do things in the past. It's breaking out of a false timeline that we're doing on an individual scale to then remove a timeline, to change a timeline, I should say, not remove it, but to change it or collapse it to make it, concave on itself, to make it a shorter experience for those who are stuck in it, to excel to where they're supposed to be, rather than taking this elongated path, because it doesn't need to be that long. There's another way to do it. There always is. We just need to find a way to collapse this illusionist timeline that this egregore has created against collective, to really push past what's going on. But that's what we're going to be focusing on over here for a while. If I do lives, we'll talk more about the egregore, of course. But regardless, this is where I'm going to leave this video. And again, just email me truly if you are serious about wanting to do this. If it's something that you've been working on and you've been doing things on, we can spitball ideas. Regardless, though, this is definitely something that I've been called to do, stepping up to that plate. Even in meditation, my guides, my angels were saying that we're going to let you do this, but you need to be careful, because this is something that is not going to be easy. It's going to be easy on an individual scale, but on the grand scheme of things, it's going to be very backlashy. Many people are not going to understand. Many people are going to not agree and come up against things because they believe that they've been helped, when in actuality they've just been sucked down a deeper hole that they are trying to dig around and pop out of. But once they finally leave that hole, they're going to see that it was just a ruse for the most part. Not that the magic wasn't happening, but that there was a spell over top of complete everything that was allowing those things to even come into play. You know what I mean? And it's a lot. It's just awakening to the spiritual realm, to magic being a thing. It's just awakening to that proxies, this whole illusion to form above you. So now you have to break through that veil that has created a bunch of blockages and seals on top of you to move on to higher realms, or to the next levels, or however you wish to say it. But regardless, we're doing a lot of looking into on this, and I'm going to do my best to keep updates on this thing. Regardless, though, the email, the Dr. Malachi York books are in the description if you're looking for that. Dr. Malachi York is coming home. If you all need any services from me, books, readings, however, one-on-one services, tarot classes, petitions for spiritual court, you can either email me or go to the website in the description, or go to the link tree. Donation stuff are down there. Greatly appreciate, love everything. But regardless of all that, I love you all so much. Sending back tenfold and forever, and I will see y'all later.